Welcome to part 2, lessons 6 through 8. We don't believe anyone has this information. The 10 thought process is your unconscious brain determining truth or deception and then trying to signal that to you through a feeling. So the thing is that psychology doesn't even recognize this thought process. They have a name for the 320 thought process, dysregulation, the 160 thought process, regulation, the 80 thought process, self-regulation. There's no name for this 10 thought process. And this is really the key to lessons 6 through 8. So what happens is your 90% of your brain is a supercomputer, and it is constantly modeling out whether something is truth or not. And it does it according to 4 principles: causality, non-contradiction, contrastive thinking, growth mindset. Your conscious brain starts off according to 2 principles: causality and non-contradiction. The problem is that everything we do either helps or hurts our brain. So what's happening in your life is you are either moving towards operating according to none of these principles, operating according to the opposite of causality and non-contradiction, or you're learning how to operate according to contrastive thinking and growth mindset and getting in touch with your unconscious brain and getting the ability to flow. Our first proof that people don't have this information is when we ask them their definition for truth. You've already learned from lesson 5, truth is a right what with a right how and why. Deception is a right what with no or a wrong how or why. The best way to describe this is with these teen dramas. In these teen dramas, there's always a character that's the deceiver. Basically, they come up to the main character and they tell her, hey, look, it's your best friend and your boyfriend coming out of that back room. That's a right what, they really are. However, the deceiver then just stares at the main character. And now the main character has to come up with their own how and why. Oh, he's having an affair on me, they were making out. And now, in their own energy, they run deceived in the opposite direction. At the end of the episode, what do we find out? Oh, her best friend and her boyfriend were planning her surprise birthday party. The key to lessons 6, 7, and 8 is for you to learn how to get in touch with your 10 thought process. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about because conjunctives will give you the answer to life's biggest questions. A conjunctive is basically a freedom with one limitation. What you want to try to do is you want to try to get everything in the middle of the conjunctive. If you can do that, you can handle things forever without any problem at all. For example, with liberty and justice for all. Liberty is the freedom or the benefit, and justice is the limitation. If we all lived according to liberty with justice for all, we could get along forever. So why don't we? Well, usually what happens is somebody, the king or the person in charge, says, I think I would be happier if I had no limitations, if I lived in all freedom. And when they move to this half of the conjunctive, the freedom half, they actually push everybody into the limitation half. Everybody now has 2 limitations. They have the limitation of justice, and they have the limitation of not justice against the king or the leader. The goal is to make sure everything remains in the conjunctive. When we gave you those definitions, the underlying portion of the definition was the limitation. So now you know my secret in coming up with definitions. Your unconscious knows the non-contradictory definition for every word, and it's always in the form of a conjunctive.
Knowing what a conjunctive is the best tool at guarding your thought process. Anytime someone gives you 2 limitations, there's always going to be a contradiction. Teenagers are amazing at finding that. If someone is acting without a limitation, then the way to address that is to flip the pronouns. Would it be okay if I did what you did? Would it be okay if I acted without a limitation? Our brains will never get used to being in a conjunctive. Treating others the way that I want to be treated is a conjunctive that can guide all of my behavior. When I'm in coaching sessions, I make sure to give the people one limitation, so that way they can do whatever they want to do safely. Talk to your spouse however you want to talk to them, but use collaborative communication. Think about a limitation like it's a guardrail. You can drive as fast as you want around those corners, as close as you want to that guardrail, as long as you don't touch it. Wait, do you think it's fun to live without a limitation? Do you think that it's fun to drive off a cliff and crash your car? The measure of maturity is how much someone embraces a limitation.
The most powerful of the four principles is contrastive thinking. All we know for sure is what isn't true. Comparative thinking is when we see two things that match up, we assume that that thing is true. Most likely it's not. So what contrastive thinking is can you come up with a way that what you believe could be or may be wrong? You don't have to admit it's wrong. You don't have to say it's wrong. When you think backwards like that, you are actually backflushing the dendrites in your brain and you are making your brain more healthy. Truth begins in the opposite direction of 80. What happens is we think when something immediately makes sense that it's truth. It's just an 80 thought process. Every 10 thought process starts backwards. Where did that tree come from? You see that seed? What? Mommy, Daddy, where did I come from? Well, what? The truth always begins in the opposite direction. And our government knows that. I have several patents. If you apply for a patent, the first line on the patent application is, what's the nature of your invention? So you write what it is. The second line is, would a person who is skilled in the art have come up with your invention? They're asking if your invention makes natural sense, 80 cents. If you say yes, you don't get the patent. Every patent has to go in the opposite direction. So the way to think about contrastive thinking is whichever direction you take a step in, you're going to end in the opposite direction long term. For example, if I want to build up my muscles, how do I do that? I lift weights. What am I really doing? I'm tearing down my muscles so that my body builds them up long term. There is a way to build up my muscles in one step. Take steroids. And long term, I'm going to end up dead. So whatever direction you want to end up in, you got to go the opposite direction. We want to end up forward. The key to lessons 6, 7, and 8 is to learn how to take your first step backwards.
Remember, the definition of a leader is someone who facilitates the purpose and progress of others. The definition of a boss is someone who facilitates their own purpose and progress at the expense of another. A boss immediately goes from the situation that they're in to try to get the result that they want, regardless of the cost, regardless of the pain that they cause everyone around them. Every time people go from where they're at to immediately getting the result that they want, we call that A to B. So here's what it looks like to be a leader. A leader responds in every situation by taking a step back into their uniqueness and bringing that out towards other people. When a leader does that, they will always get energy. That means that everyone can be a leader, but only one person can be a boss. Would you like to know your unique vitamin C? So remember how we talked about restoration and how 3 of the words in restoration will help you never go back into a hole? And there was one of those words that helped supercharge you out of the hole. The one that supercharged you out of the hole was love. So people struggle with that. How do I uniquely love other people? How does someone love me? Your personal vision statement is your way to never fall in a hole ever again. It will constantly direct you forward in order for you to make progress. Why it does that is because it is your unique vitamin C step. The first step in your personal vision statement is, I will live each day with, and then you fill in those 3 principles. We've given you a list of principles, and you don't have to use any of them. I know this is going to be kind of hard to hear, kind of a difficult thing, but this is the place that you want to be completely selfish. What are the 3 things that you want to walk into a room and have them be present? These 3 principles are things that you don't want to be responsible for providing. The second step is so that, and then this is the unique benefit that you offer that you would pay money to someone else to do. Who would you take out for coffee in order for you to be able to do this unique ability towards them? The last portion is, I will do this with these 3 principles, and think about that in terms of a job description. What is it that you would want to do even if someone told you you had to do? These 3 things are what you want to be responsible for providing. And in fact, you may even get upset when someone takes away that opportunity for you to provide those principles. And spoiler alert, 2 of those things are likely going to be your intangible drivers. We really want you to take a week to take your personal vision statement on a walk. Take it around, use it in your day. This is one of the best ways for you to decide how good your day was. So before you have your personal vision statement, it kind of seems like the day is an accident. But now that you have your personal vision statement, you can be intentional about your day. So what we want you to do is we want you to take a week to go over your personal vision statement and rank your day. So from -10 to +10, how was your day? Then what you do is you take out your personal vision statement and the principles that you did get or that you did accomplish or you did experience, put a check mark on those. If let's say you have a +8, so you have a +8 day, and you go through your personal vision statement and you check and you make a lot of check marks, then you probably have a good personal vision statement. It's probably aligned to who you are. If you say that you have a +8, then you go to your personal vision statement and you go, wait a minute, I didn't do any of these, then you probably don't have the right personal vision statement. Or if you say, I had a -7 day, and you go to your personal vision statement, you go, wait, check, 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 I did all these things. Then your personal vision statement is wrong again. So it's really important that your personal vision statement is close. It's accurate. It's not wrong. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, without a flaw. Something that John and I are doing is John and I are constantly tweaking our personal vision statement, because the more that we grow, the more that we interact with people, the more we find out what we're looking for people to bring to us and what we do uniquely.
Right. We continue to get to know ourselves.
Yeah.
It keeps us in the conjunctive and keeps us having energy. So that personal vision statement really is a great predictor of your day. And I'll do this in classes. I'll take students through the personal vision statement, and I'll grab one of them and say, rate your day in front of everybody. And then when we go through it, everybody will see all of a sudden that, it's not random why I have a good or bad day. It's all based on whether I experience these things in my personal vision statement or not. Now, the first part of the personal vision statement is very interesting because, again, it's your ideal context. You open a door, you walk in a room, and all three things are present, all three of those principles are present, you're going to get a ton of energy. If you walk in a room and none of those three things are present, you have two choices. You can walk out of the room, or you can stay there and lose all your energy. So this helps a lot of people avoid frustration, because now they recognize this is going to determine why I get so frustrated in certain situations.
Nice.
Now, Jonathan and I, we're executive coaches, and I really use the personal vision statement to help executives either fix their current job or pick their next job. Because if you think about it, as a leader, you want to have a context that fits your personal vision statement. So when we coach people and they're just drained being a leader, I have them, after they fix their personal vision statement, I have them look at their work. And I say to them, now, is there any way you can change your job so that it fits more of your personal vision statement? And if it is, we can change some of those things. If not, then it's time to go look for a job that will fit your personal vision statement. And that really helps people, because now they're not randomly looking for jobs. They can look for jobs and interview for jobs and know exactly what they're looking for. And they have a much higher success rate of finding a job that gives them energy.
A great reason to do your personal vision statement is it actually will help you grow in self-esteem. Self-esteem is a conjunctive. It's confidence, freedom, confidence in who you are. So that personal vision statement will help grow your confidence. When you start to discover who you are, you're gonna let go of the things that you're not. What does self-esteem look like without a conjunctive? It looks like the 1970s during the self-esteem movement. In the self-esteem movement, everyone was told to give each other high fives and say, "You're awesome, you're awesome." But what's the limitation? If there's no limitation, then your brain just throws that out. It doesn't make sense. Your unconscious brain can recognize a conjunctive, and if it doesn't have a limitation, it's gone.
Right. So what happens is that every argument that we see can be represented by the conjunctive. So if you think about it, there are people, and I'll represent the right half of the conjunctive, there are people who say, you people are hurting yourself. You clearly don't know what you're doing. I have the truth. You need to do the following things. I have a whole 10-step program to help you get better and for you to stop hurting yourself. I have the truth.
And I am kind of on the left side of the conjunctive. I am the freedom side. And when I hear someone who's all limitations and rules, I go, wow, you're really hurting people. You know, I might be hurting myself, but you're hurting people. And you don't have the truth because you have contradictions.
So there's your situation. One side is sitting there saying they have the truth and they're hurting themselves. This side is saying you don't have the truth because you have contradictions and you're hurting other people. So if you're outside the conjunctive, you're always going to be destructive. You're either going to hurt yourself or hurt other people. Now notice, if you're in the conjunctive, what's going to happen? If somebody walked up here and was in the conjunctive, I'm going to think they're one of him. And I'm going to attack him. What are you going to think of the person in the conjunctive?
I'm going to think that they're you, and I'm going to attack them.
So notice, 99% of people are sitting outside the conjunctive, arguing, wasting all our time because neither of them have the truth. And when someone comes up with the truth, that 99% bonds together to hurt and wipe out the person who has the truth. Can you see how conjunctives explain what's going on in the world today?